All right, guys, we are back and we are raring to go. Um, it's been about, I don't know, almost a month since I've been on here to talk to you guys and anything. Because if you didn't know, we've had just this crazy season of life. We bought a house, we moved, we did all that within about 3.5 weeks. We sold our house. And so it has just been an incredible, busy season of life. We moved, and then all of a sudden we had to unpack to then pack to go to Disney. And so we were in Disney for about a week and a half, and just probably the most fun Disney trip that we had. So um, we are back. We should be good to go for the remainder of the season. We've got a lot of interviews lined up for you guys, and I'm very excited for every one of them. But I also owe you guys a series on Scary Faith. That was something that I was going to be starting about a month ago, and then life kicked me in the butt and put me down. So Scary Faith should be coming out with the first episode next week. We're still getting some things in order here with the house and putting together the new like office slash studio. So that will hopefully be up and running by next week as well. Um, and then, tonight we have an amazing guest named Dave Barringer. He's the lead pastor at Kalamazoo First Assembly God, and you guys are in for a very special treat. I loved having a conversation with Dave, and he did a tremendous job, answered all of the questions, and just really enjoyed. I took a bunch of notes. I have a lot of nuggets that um, definitely believe that are going to help me in my marriage and me as a parent. So I know they're going to impact you guys as well. Before we get into that, I just want to give a shout out to our show sponsor, K Weave Sports. My mom, she's looking to potentially order a jersey from him for herself for this upcoming Colts season. She's probably been the biggest fan of the Colts since I can remember. So the fact that she's going to be able to get one is really cool. But again, NFL season is in full swing. Colts jerseys, your favorite NFL jersey, you can get it. Caleb Williams, if you're a Bears fan, you want to get your rookie quarterback that could change your franchise. Kate, Kyle can help you there. Tom Brady might come out of retirement now that Tua might not come back to the Dolphins. So if you want a Tom Brady Dolphins jersey, who knows? But if it's something crazy, Kyle can get it over there at KWeave Sports. Just message him on Instagram or Twitter at his handle KWeave Sports and give him the code Dad Talks 10 and you will get $10 off your jersey. He can get sports memorabilia signed, whatever you're looking for. He can help assemble your man cave, she shed, whatever you're looking to do. But Kyle's got the plug for all of your sports gear. All right, we're going to get into the discussion with Dave. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, and we're live with Mr. David when he's in trouble, Dave Barringer to everyone else. What's up, man? How are you?
What is going on, man? It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really cool experience. I know we had some sound difficulties at the beginning, but being new to the podcast world, I know you've been doing this for a while. But I appreciate you being patient with me and getting through this and wearing your Lions gear, which is exciting. So
Oh yeah, I forgot I got the Lions hat on. I'm in black because I'm mourning the loss yesterday.
yeah, that's fair. I have my Colts gear on, and I don't know. We're now in this season of it's going to be continuous losing. I feel like, and just our defense can't get it together. And I feel like when you're a sports fan, this is one question I was going to ask you, but like, does God hear all prayers when sports teams are playing?
I tell the congregation because I pastor a church and people want the pastor to pray for them. I'm like, listen, I've been praying for the Lions my entire life. You may want to actually go to our prayer team. I think they're probably better at prayer than I am.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, man, first and foremost, thank you for one accepting a random message on social media from some guy doing a podcast, and two, thanks for just being on here. This is really exciting, and if you don't mind, just maybe kind of introduce yourself because this is my first time meeting you as well.
Sure. My name is Dave Barringer. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and right now I actually pastor in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So we're on the southwest side, close to the Indiana border.
Okay.
Spent my life in Michigan, went to Bible college in Missouri, and so I got a little y'all in me every once in a while. But been married for 26 and a half years.
Wow.
People ask me how old my little ones are. My little ones are 25, and the other one turns 22. So they're
Wow.
not so little. So I've actually got my daughter. She's been married 3 years. I'll coming up in 3 years at the end of this month. My son, my guess is the next year or so will be married. So we're just in a different time and transition of
Yeah.
life right now. We're getting used to what empty nest is going to feel like, but then I
Mhm.
feel like we have the judgment of God because we bought two cats, and now we live in this weird mode of empty nest while having these two cats that might make their appearance on today. So we'll see if one of them jumps up here. That usually happens when I have meetings like this.
Fair enough. Yeah. That's exciting. Congratulations to your daughter.
Oh man,
3
thanks.
years is a big time. My wife and I have been married. We just celebrated 9 years in September 6th.
Oh,
So
nice.
we're not at 26 and a half, but we're getting there. We're on our way up there. So it's exciting.
Yeah, we blinked an eye, and all of a sudden, we are those people that have been married like a really long time, and we're like, we don't understand how it happened, but well, you know how it happened, but it goes quick. It just
Yeah,
goes quick.
absolutely. And that's honestly the way that I found you. Social media and TikTok is good because every now and then you're up scrolling, and most of the time it's dead scrolling. You just see funny cat videos that you laugh at, but
Oh yeah.
every now and then you come across a video that is very impactful, and that's how I found you. Talking about marriage, you do a marriage podcast talk every Monday,
hmm
and so how did that come to life for you?
Wow. I don't know how many years ago it was. I bet you it was close to a decade ago. I've always had a passion for marriages.
Okay.
I used to work with teenagers. I was a youth pastor for about 12 years. And there was a point of working with teenagers that I thought to myself, one of the best ways I can actually help them is actually to help their parents. So if I help their
Mm,
parents have a better marriage and be better parents, it actually helps impact the youth ministry a lot better. And so we just had a lot of parents at our disposal, so to speak, and we just got our feet wet. And then when we transitioned to Kalamazoo, where we took over an entire church, my wife, I remember she just said, "Listen, you used to do like every February, like love, sex, and dating, like this series with the
mm,
teenagers. Take that passion you have for that." And prepping them for marriage and just pour that into the marriages. And so that was 15
oh
years
well.
ago where we began to do a lot of marriage stuff in the church. And that developed into random live streams on Facebook,
Okay.
which all of a sudden turned into, you know what, let's create some consistency. And we started doing Marriage Mondays, which grew into a podcast. And that podcast
Okay.
has now turned into, I've been on TikTok, I think, a year now.
Okay.
And so I feel like you've got like your Facebook Live audience,
Hmm.
you've got your podcast audience, and then TikTok has just become its own thing where I
Right.
take a 10-minute podcast and try to turn it into a 3 to 4 minute TikTok. If there's anything people yell at me a lot about right now in TikTok is it's too long. It's too long. It's a
Oh
whole
my.
3 minutes long. I'm like, really? 3 minutes?
Yeah.
That's it? But
You're complaining about you know what though? 3 minutes can change someone's life.
I agree.
And I remember, and I don't know how true this is, but we'll get back to it here in a second. But I remember reading a stat years ago that 1 out of 5 people will want to commit suicide because no one waved at them.
Yeah.
And so now I make this intention that whether you want me to or not, I wave at you. And so I think with you getting on for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is, and talking about marriage, the divorce rate is so high today. And so if
Yeah.
I'm willing to like sit there for 3 minutes and just listen to you or whoever talk about what goes into a healthy marriage, I would rather use that 3 minutes to grow and get better than 3 minutes watching, pardon my language, like cats fall on each other,
Well, absolutely. People are craving marriage help. What's funny is I hear people complaining about, marriage conferences, or I do like a whole month on marriage at our church every June. And people can complain until they finally get married and they realize, what, I actually need a little bit of help with this thing. I
Hmm.
need some sort of enrichment, some sort of growth. And so that's why my wife and I will do like marriage conferences for other churches and entities.
Mm.
We will speak on it. We talk about on it. My first book, which is a horribly edited book, but nevertheless, that was my first one that went out. It was my marriage blogs. And so I actually started
Okay.
on the blogosphere before I went into live streams and such. But
Wow.
um, people are looking for something, for some sort of help. And my thing is, it's never weakness to ask for help. It's a weakness to not ask for help. And so
Mm.
I offer it, and it's created some great bridges into people.
Yeah.
TikTok, I fought TikTok forever because I didn't think I'd have time for it. It's been fun. The
Yeah.
engagement, what people get hacked off about, at the same time, what people really enjoy has been really kind of enlightening.
Hmm.
Man, social media is just a weird beast, but it's fun. I love pouring into marriages. I'm passionate about it. I mean, we've not, had a smooth sail. It's not, but yet we
Yeah.
haven't had a bad marriage or rough times. Everyone has their seasons, their ups and their
Hmm.
downs. Everyone raises their kid through the puberty years, and you wondered why you had kids. And at the same
Hmm.
time, we're at the stage where we've poured into our marriage so much that now that the kids are leaving the house, we're not strangers, but we've
Mm.
poured into our marriage throughout the course of our lives, so that when the kids left, that we still know each other, instead of a
Hmm.
lot of the divorce rate now is hitting right when the kids leave the house, because now the parents have to focus on each other rather than the kids, and they don't know each other.
Yeah,
So we
absolutely.
want to we want to remedy all of those.
And is that, and I know I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but I know that was a mission for you while you were a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Was that something that you were noticing while you were a youth pastor, and like why you started, I guess, that track that early on was because, I mean, were a lot of your students coming to you with like issues with their parents, or were you just like, I know that this is the root of it. I know this is where I can help out.
It was probably all of the above and then some. I really
Okay.
started looking at situations that I was talking with teenagers about and thinking to myself, you ought to be talking to your parents about this.
Mm.
And or the parents were my worst enemy. And
Okay.
like I would teach or give them like good healthy a view of life, and a parent would come in and just like, oh, you don't really need to worry about your language. You don't need to worry about listening. You just be a teenager. I'm like, man, you're literally, I'm trying to help you out,
Yeah.
and you're either botching that up, or you want your kids to live one way and you are not living in consistency with what you're telling them to live. And so I'm like,
Hmm.
how can I help a parent be a better parent? And also, how can I help them prioritize things to recognize that your kids are a temporary assignment, your marriage is a
Mm.
permanent assignment? So how do I get them to really see that, so that they can see not just, hey, my parents' marriage will outlast me, but that's also what I need to have when I'm an adult someday, and I've got a marriage, and then I have kids. I want my marriage to outlast the kids.
Yeah. I wrote that down. That's really good. Your kids are a temporary assignment. Your
They are
marriage
an
is a
18-year
permanent.
year assignment, man.
Yeah, and I have, and man, I have three girls, eight, well, soon to be eight. I know, right? Please bless me and splash me with holy water. Do the whole thing because my oldest will be eight in January. My middle child just turned five a few weeks ago, and then I have
Nice.
um, my youngest will be two in October. And so I am a girl dad, and I think that God laughs at me a lot of times because he's like, I grew up with a single mom. Didn't meet my dad until I was 13, so I think I was like destined to have all girls because that's just kind of what I knew even growing up. So
Yeah.
for me, um, I think that's why I like connected with you so much because to me, marriage is foundational in my home.
Hmm.
I want my girls to grow up and understand that there's more than like makeup and Barbies. Like you need to have a healthy man spiritually,
Hmm.
mentally, physically in your life. And so, I try to take my marriage very seriously so I can be that example for all of my girls. And then sometimes I stay up at night worried that they're going to meet the right guy, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
they can be 26 years in and I can be okay, you know. So
Absolutely. We watched years of absentee fathers and
mhm.
absentee mothers.
Yeah,
We watched years of watching parents live vicariously through their kids in the way they prepped them for prom or homecoming or whatever. And so there are conversations that we would have with parents all the time. You don't need to do this, or you need to do this. Now, granted, at that time, we didn't have teenagers, but we were telling parents, listen, we are seeing the fruit of you not paying attention to your daughter. We see the fruit of you being a helicopter parent to your son. Uh, we're trying to help you out. We're not trying to run your life. We are seeing your kids when you don't see them, because we would get parents all the time. Well, I don't see that. I'm like, my daughter's not boy crazy. She doesn't even know boys exist. I'm like, you haven't seen her in youth group. You have not seen her in small groups. Do
yeah,
you see how your kid is dressing for youth group when they show up? They're screaming for attention.
yeah,
And we help try to show parents that when you model solid parenting, your kids aren't necessarily boy or girl crazy, because they're not starving to look for attention, because they have quality attention, which actually unleashes them to really fully develop and find themselves. Like, you know, and even I'll say this, I think we did a pretty good job raising our kids.
yeah,
And I still remember when my daughter was graduated, and I could tell you where we were at in our neighborhood. We were on a walk, and I was panicking that I didn't pay enough attention. Like, did I do enough? Was I a good enough
uh,
dad? Did I prep her? Because I think that's a good thing to actually have within you, rather than assuming, we did it, we're fine, we send them off.
yeah,
But our job is to, the scripture says, train up a child in the way that they should go. And the key word for me is go. They got to go at some point. They
yeah,
just got to go, but they have to be prepped and ready to go. Because if you hold on to your kids too tightly, they want to leave and get out of the house. But if you prep them to go and you create an atmosphere that feels like home, not only do they go, but they actually want to come back and visit and spend time. And so even my son-in-law and my daughter, they love to hang out with us because we prep them to go,
mhm,
and we gave them a home that they wanted to come back to. And that's the same thing with my son and his girlfriend. They love to hang out here and to be here. But we wanted to also model that with our lives. Like, the line that we used to give to our kids is, you know, you're going to leave someday.
mhm,
Like, we're not. I used to yell at my kids, like, if you disrespect my wife, I'm like, listen, you're leaving someday. She's not going anywhere.
yeah,
So you got to shape up. She's not chipping out. And
yeah,
they would get so annoyed because I would never say, don't talk to your mother that way. I would say, don't talk to my wife that way. I wanted that
ooh,
line that showed a
that's really good.
priority, that she stays, you guys will go. And they will
Mhm,
tell me they hated every time I said it. But now on this side of life, they're like, we get it now.
we
We
get it.
totally get what you are setting up and these parameters and boundaries that we're going.
Hmm, that's impactful. So I feel like I'm learning a lot with this conversation already. I'm in like a marriage counseling session. So pinning that conversation, backing up a little bit, how would your parents of the youth group take that feedback that you would give them? Like if their daughter is showing up to youth group dressed in that way,
Mhm.
and you have that, I don't want to say difficult conversation, but you have that real conversation with them. What was feedback like to get from them?
Well, first of all, we did everything through relationship. I believe
Okay.
that we were more than youth pastors. We wanted
Mhm.
parents to understand we are your best friends, in the sense that we're not here to be a separate parent or just separate authority. We're here to help you as best as we can. And so I
Mhm.
established from the beginning that we are going to be your best weapon. We are here on your side in the sense of wanting your home to be the best home imaginable, best, healthiest home.
Mhm.
The other side is we were in people's homes establishing relationships, so they knew that we weren't strangers to those parents. And it was out of that relational equity that we would build up over time, that we can, when you build up good relational equity with people, whether you're talking about your kids, you're talking about in-laws, friends, whatever, you have more to spend by being able to say, listen, I love your family too much to not say anything about this. And that's the way that we would approach it.
Hmm.
Is like my wife might have a talk with someone else's mother. I might have a
Hmm.
talk with their dad and saying, listen, I love you too much just to let this thing slide. But, with the way your child was dressed, or listen, your middle schooler doesn't realize that he's got BO now and
Yeah,
he needs to
yeah,
start taking showers. I
yeah.
mean, it was the silly stuff to really serious things
Hmm.
that we just parents just knew that if we were ever to say anything, it was not to run their homes or to run their lives. It was because we loved them and their kids so much that we were willing to have those tough talks and those tough conversations. And we saw just a lot of benefit. We saw a lot of not just the numerical growth in the youth group, but we just saw a lot of depth and relationship because they begin to look out for each other and
Hmm.
just simply say, hey, I love you enough to say this. That's just a classic line that I got mentored in, that
Hmm.
whenever I deal with anybody, it was always out of a heart of love. My care is not for what I want. I see something that I just want to speak out to you.
Yeah, that's really good. And I worked for the YMCA for years and
Mm.
did like youth. I did summer camp youth. I got up to teen camp, and I mean, this was this was close to 10 years ago. No, a little bit longer than that, probably 10, 15 years ago. And even then, it's like having those conversations with parents is sometimes really hard, because you do have some parents that like their kid does no wrong, or
Oh yeah.
they're so, I don't want to say blind, but they're so focused on other areas of their life that they don't see that. And so now with my own kids, I try really hard, to listen and see everything that they're doing. Like I had, we were eating dinner tonight, and I was like, "Hey, how was school today?" And my 7 year old, she's like, "Well, it was good, but this boy in my class called me dumb and fatty." And I was like,
Mm.
so I had to take a step back, and it wasn't like I didn't get defensive. My first question was like, "You know that you are neither one of those things, correct?" Because I don't want to like immediately have her go on the defensive. I want her to know who she is and her identity
Yeah.
before she takes any action. She's like, "Yeah, I know that." I said, "I want you to understand, like, you are smart and you are beautiful and you are an
Hmm.
amazing person, and no one can take that away from you." She's like, "I know, Dad." I'm like, "Okay, that's my girl. That's my
Yeah.
girl." But the fact that like it happened, and I think some parents would immediately call the school or immediately call that parent, like, "How dare you let your kid?" That's their situation that they need to handle on their own. Right now, my focus is making sure that like my daughter's identity is intact. Because
Hmm.
if that goes anywhere else, that can now be an entryway or a
Hmm.
gateway for everything else to flood in, and I don't want that. So,
We're so busy trying to protect them from life that we haven't actually equipped them to engage in life.
mm,
We're
yeah.
we're just we're helicopter parents hovering above the kids, and we're just not allowing them to engage in things like pain, heartache, offense. Um,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of the book that I just read a few months ago that talked about Generation Z and the newest generations. And I think that everybody that's interested in the up and coming generations and the age of social media should read. I wish I could remember the book. I have to look it up here.
Yeah.
But the essence of the book is like we don't let them play outside because we're scared that someone's going to snatch them. We're
Hmm.
scared to allow them to get a scrape, to get a hurt. Don't play in the playground. In fact, no play sets at all. Don't play team sports because somebody could be left out. Listen, I was always the shortest guy on the field, always the smallest, and I've had people pick teams and been left off. And does it hurt? It does hurt, but that's rejection is actually something that's good, that we've guarded
Hmm.
our kids so much from painful moments that they have no pain thresholds. And
Yeah.
we've got to get better at prepping our kids for the good and the bad and then
Hmm.
talking them through it. And like you'd brought up the idea of parents, and sometimes parents have been overprotective, and sometimes they haven't protected at all because part of it. I remember one parent telling me this, no joke, that I can't believe you told me that about my kid. I really didn't want to know that. And I'm like, why would you want to know that your daughter was doing this with other boys? And he's like, 'cause now I've got to deal with it. And so some parents just wanted pure ignorance because if I know about it, I've got to deal with it. If I don't know, then we're all good.
Yeah.
Um,
If I don't know,
and
it
I,
didn't happen.
yeah, like the invited ignorance, I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, that's not a healthy. So then and I wrote this question because I don't want to forget it. So how do we let how do we let life happen to our kids and be okay? Because if I take a step back, and I feel like you can look at this in two different ways, right? The first
Mhm.
way is, well, I'm going to take David's advice and I'm going to let my kid go outside and play, and because I want them to let life happen. Now they might have got hit by a car, like heaven forbid any of that happens,
Yeah,
right? And now you're just terrified. Like, I'm never gonna let my kid go outside and play again. They're never stepping out. I'm wrapping them in bubble wrap. They're not. We're gonna have Bubble Boy. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but weird reference. Or like, how do we trust for them to have life happen to them in a world that we live in today and be okay with life happening?
sure. First of all, the name of the book is called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. The Anxious
Yes, I've heard of
Generation,
this book. Yeah.
phenomenal book, phenomenal
Okay.
book. Now, but anyways, even with helping parents to become a little bit more free with their kids and to open up those parameters, I would do it in what I would call a digestible way. It's
Okay.
like I'm not just going to open up the door and say, "Kids, run outside and come back in when the street lights come on." Okay, that was my day.
Same. Yeah.
What I would do is I might send them outside, but I might get a lawn chair and let them just play outside.
Mm,
And then just I'm setting up parameters. Not only am I building that, are they building trust with me, but I'm also building trust with the atmosphere.
mm.
And so what I would do for any parent, if you've got littles, you've got small ones, is I would just start off and do what I would say. I would just set some boundaries, let them operate in those boundaries. And when I feel like that they've developed, like if they've never been outside, I don't just send them outside. I go outside with them
Yeah.
and I watch them interact. I watch them
Mhm.
interact with neighborhood kids. I'm meeting the neighborhood kids. I'm meeting their parents, and all of a sudden that boundary starts developing because not
Mm.
only have I developed a little bit more trust and know of those boundaries as a parent, they're starting to develop greater skills operating in those boundaries. And as they get stronger and more, all right, I'm from Detroit, street smarts, so to
Yeah.
speak. That, but they're able to walk and operate in those. And so to
Mhm.
me, that's just the essence of parenting. It's just you're stretching fences back and they're earning opportunities. It's like when my kids got their license.
Yeah.
My kids didn't realize that, hey, when you get your license, mom and dad are just going to follow you on Find My iPhone, my app, and make sure that when you tell me you're going somewhere, I want to make sure that you're actually owning up to that.
Mhm.
Here's the times you're gonna drive. Here's what the parameters. When you get to places, you have to call or text us to let us know. And we gave them
Mhm.
the parameters, and the more they operated strongly in those parameters, the more the parameters opened up.
Yeah.
So that's how we help our kids to start stretching their legs.
Mhm.
It's like I get seasick very easy, and anybody that is like anybody that boats or anything would just say that I don't have my sea legs and I have to give
Yeah.
it time, and that's what we have got to do with our kids is we
Mhm.
got to help them give our sea legs.
Yeah. And I was looking this verse up while you were talking because I think people take this verse and they always apply it to finances, which is good. But Luke 16:10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with very much."
Mhm.
And so I think in a way, like, God sets boundaries and parameters for us as
Mhm.
well, as like, hey, take care of your marriage first, because as you said, like, this is my wife or my husband. This is what's important. This is what's foundational.
Mhm.
God sees that, and now he expands those parameters. Like, all right, let's throw a baby in here. Let's see what happens. All right, we're doing really well there. Like, let's throw another one in there. And then in my
Mhm.
case, he's like, I don't know if you can handle a boy, so we're just gonna give you all girls, you know. um, but I think that's in a way like God almost. treats us that way too, of like he sets parameters and boundaries, and as he calls us into new seasons or new adventures, those parameters and the things that he does trust us with becomes more. And
Yeah.
when I look back, it's like when I first got married, I never thought in a million years I would have a podcast that would interview dads and parents, or you know have three girls, and we're doing all that. I never pictured that, but God saw it, and he's
Yeah.
like, just watch me cook in your seasons of life. So I think that's a big thing that a lot of people, whether they are believers or not, just need to understand. Like, even God, I've learned more about being a parent, or I've learned more about how much God loves me as a parent
Yeah.
than I have ever um, before that. So that's my word vomit ramble on that subject.
Well, this is what I tell the congregation. And I used to tell this to teenagers as well. You don't own anything.
Mm,
You don't even own your body. It's
yeah.
all a gift from God. And when you are using anything that doesn't belong to you, you have to recognize you're a steward, you're a manager, you're not an owner. And some of us run our bodies ragged because we think they're our bodies. So it's my body, it's my life, it's my choices, it's my. But when we remember it belongs to the Lord, we recognize that, well, I got to steward and manage this. My
Hmm.
my wife is a gift from God,
Yeah.
and I have to steward my marriage. My kids are a gift from God. They're a temporary assignment, even though the assignment changes through the years. But I have to steward every opportunity. And just like what you shared, even with the parable of the talents and the things that God gives, so many people want God to do more, but they won't be faithful with what God's given them now.
Hmm.
So if you want to see growth in your kids, be faithful right now. And if you're not faithful right now, don't gripe later when your kids don't want to come home. They
Yeah.
don't want to visit. There's a disconnect because now you're trying to make up time for what you lost. And so my word to any parent is, no matter where you are at in parenting, it's never too late to start reaching out. But sometimes you do have to have some give a lot of grace, because perhaps you parenting wasn't what it should have been, and the
Mm.
relationships are broken. And so just because you start now doesn't mean everything gets reconciled immediately. You got to work from wherever you're at and make the most of wherever you're at. But when you're faithful with where you're at, it allows the more to actually come at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of go into that direction, I know, like, with you doing this marriage podcast for the last 10, 15 years, how much growth have you seen from your daughter and her marriage in her first 3 years with your son-in-law, and like even with your son now potentially getting married? How much growth have you seen with them, just from how much you've invested in them over time, and just seeing a lot of that in them?
I've seen, and a part of me, I can't say that I've seen like a massive amount of growth, because I guess the way we position our kids and the way that we raise our kids is you never stop growing. So
Hmm.
it wasn't like Cammie and her husband Josh like started here and I've just seen them way up here. What we've seen and kind of what we've always modeled for them is there is a pattern of constant growth. Like, for example, this weekend, they recognize that because my daughter's a photographer, she's got a wedding in the next couple weekends. And so they're like, you know what? We don't want our anniversary just to drop off. We're going to make sure that we go away. And they try to go away like once a quarter, once every 5 or 6 months. They just try to have consistency of pouring into their marriage and time together. And so it's not that I was looking for all of this growth. I wanted to see there be a consistency in that growth. And
Hmm.
that's something that my son-in-law, his mother passed away about 2 months into them dating. So that was like
Oh, wow.
4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And he has got such a broken relationship with his dad. And so there's a lot of new stuff that he's been introduced to over the past number of years that he's been around. And it was never, Josh, we need you to be up here. It's, we need you to be in a pattern of self improvement and growth.
Hmm.
And if you come up to a situation, my classic line for every intern, every one of my pastors, the classic line is, what did you learn? What did you
Hmm.
go through? What did you learn? My son, who's in the police academy right now, his very first interview over a year ago, he got turned down and he failed the test. And I'm like, okay, pattern of growth. What did you learn? How could you do it better the next time?
Yeah.
And so I mean, my kids, we wanted to model something for them for years. And also, with them being into Sunday services, they were also hearing things all of the time. And we don't hide things from the kids. We don't fight in front of them, but they know mom and dad are pretty naked and unafraid, so to speak, in regards
Yeah.
to marriage and life, so that they get to see not just us go through life in terms of what we face, that they also we talk them through how we're navigating through that. Like I deal with depression. We've had a lot of those talks.
Yeah.
We've had tough seasons in our church. COVID devastated our church. We've had lots of talks. And so to me, it's all about just constantly keeping yourself in the pattern of not just growth but good vulnerability, so that the kids not just see you in the good moments, they see you in the bad, and also how
Mhm.
you walk through those.
Understandable. That's awesome, man. Well, we're gonna start wrapping up, but before we
Yeah.
do, we're gonna get serious. Then we're gonna laugh a little bit, and then we'll get serious again, and then we'll be all completed. So,
All right.
um, the first thing that we're gonna do is coming from the marriage expert himself. It doesn't have to be on marriage, but if you could give three pieces of advice to parents, what would those pieces of advice be?
Parenting advice or marriage advice?
Your dealer's choice, whatever you want to do. It's
Oh,
it's your right off the top of the head, as long as
all
it's
right.
not to be a Lions fan.
All right. Number one, first piece of advice I would say is don't stop pursuing each other. The number one
Mm,
thing I hear in marriage counseling is we don't feel in love anymore. The passion
ooh,
runs out. And so I tell people what won the heart keeps the heart. And the reason why the passion is not theirs is because you stopped pursuing each other. You stopped dating.
mm,
And dates are cheaper than divorce lawyers. Don't tell me you can't afford to date.
yeah,
Dates are cheaper than divorce lawyers. My wife and I, we used to grab a couple tacos from Taco Bell when we first got married. We had no money and we would walk around furniture stores, and the salesman learned to leave us alone because we had no money. But that's just what we did. We ate tacos and we walked around, looked at stuff we couldn't afford, and that was our dates. But
that's
that's
awesome.
just what we like to do. And I mean, nowadays we hike and that costs nothing.
Yeah,
But every Friday's our date day. And so I tell people, if you want your marriage to last, you have to keep feeding it. Like in the book of Revelation, Jesus talks to a church and he tells this church that you seem to have fallen out of your first love. Go back and do the things you once did. And
mm,
so that's where most marriages just need to go back and do the things where you used to call each other. You used to take each other out on dates, go to the movies together. And even though seasons change and likes change, change with it.
mm,
So I would say number one, pursue each other. Number two, don't stop being a student of each other.
mm,
Love languages change through the years. You got the five love languages, and as seasons change, so do the love languages. Our love languages were one thing, and then after 6 months, my wife of marriage, my wife contracted something that we now call pregnancy, and so a year and a half into marriage, our daughter is born, and love languages change because she's now touched all day and doesn't, she's like physical
yes,
activity is not what she wants immediately when I come home, and that's fine. But we recognize that every season brings a shift in languages. So maybe it's kids, maybe it's a new job, maybe it's at 30, 40, whatever the season hits in terms of changes, is you have to be a student of your spouse and recognize love languages. The way we talked in one season, the way we communicated in one season may not be the way we communicate in this new season. And
hmm,
so passion, communication, and being a student of each other. And I think the last thing that I would just simply say is model what you expect.
ooh, okay,
Whether that's for your spouse or whether that's for your kids or your grandkids, don't demand anything. Model what you expect. If you expect your spouse to serve you, then serve them first. If you
mm,
expect them to forgive you, forgive them first. Give them the gift of going second because you went
mm,
first. And so I guess
absolutely.
that would be, they'd be my three kind of pieces of advice just off the hip.
Yeah, those are, oh man, those are really good. And we've tried to establish like a date night, at least once a month if we can. I've been really bad. I'm gonna try to get better, but I typically do like once a quarter a daddy daughter date with all my girls.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've also got myself into some crate. There's a place out here. I don't know if you guys have it there, but it's called the Melting Pot.
Yep.
It's like, yeah. So I took my 7 year old there,
Oh
maybe
my.
about 6 months, and she loved it. And just like, she's like, we got to come here all the time. I was like, we're not coming here all the time. I cannot afford this all the time. But that's, like, even if, like, to kind of go into all of these, but it's like, it's so crazy that you can do all of these with your kids too. It's not just your marriage.
100%.
Yeah.
100. My daughter will tell you we did lots of daddy daughter dates, and that's a little bit easier with one than three.
Yeah.
But I remember taking her to our first Detroit Pistons games. A friend of mine had a
Mm,
client back on tickets, and so I took her, and we were courtside. It was me, my daughter, and then the
wow.
Pistons bench. And so, like,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. If you actually do a YouTube search of Reggie Jackson trying to give a high five to Stan Van Gundy,
Are
it's
you
it's
there?
me and it's me and my daughter in the background. That's right where our seats are at. Yeah, that's literally the YouTube right there.
Wow.
And so she's like, "We got to go back to another one, but we can't have different seats." I'm like, "I'm never buying those
Sorry.
seats. That's just never happening." But again, I grew her up dating her because she also saw me dating her mom. And
Hmm.
then my son and I would have those times. And so even if with three girls, even if they were what I would call slushy dates, because my kids and I always did slushy dates where we would just
Mm,
go get some slushies, go to a park. And I've seen people with multiple kids to say, okay, I'm going to take out this one for a slushy date, and it's like a slushy in a park, and then take out the next one. And just to
hmm,
have, even if it was an hour, those little individual, like daddy daughter moments where
hmm.
they're waiting for their turn and their chance. And then they talk about the Slurpees with, I mean, it's such a
Yeah.
cheap date, but they'll remember that forever.
Yeah. And see, my two fears are one, my 5 year old, our dates have been consistent of going to the grocery store together. Um, and I'll like buy her like a Sprite or something, but she thinks it's so much fun. Like she gets to push the
Yeah.
cart and she gets to pick out the groceries. Like sometimes she gets to scan them in,
Mhm.
and to me, I'm like, I gotta run an errand, but she loves just spending time with me, and
Yeah.
that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
However, my fear is that they're gonna get older, Dave, and they're like, I don't want to hang out with my dad anymore. Like that's lame. And I understand they're gonna mature, they're gonna grow up, and
Mhm.
but I also want to make sure that it's like, even though you think it's lame, I think it's special, and so that goes back to model what you expect. So like, even though like they may think it's annoying, like I want them to know that I do treasure that. So
Absolutely.
that's great stuff, man. I love all pieces of those advice, and I would encourage anyone listening, please write all of those down because they will be foundational for a long time. So thank you for that. All right, you owe me one dad joke.
One dad joke.
Hmm.
All right. Please don't throw sodium chloride at people. That's assault.
That's good. All right,
There you go.
I I'm always impressed with the jokes that people tell. I had one guy tell me like a 5 minute story of a joke. He's
Oh,
like, but
Lord.
that's the point of it. Like you're supposed to draw this thing out so that when you get to the punchline, they're like, really? I'm like, well, okay. So I've heard
Oh,
all kinds. That one's really good.
I've got church members that are threatening to unfriend me on Facebook because I post dad jokes every 3 or 4 days, and I don't
Gotcha.
care.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
care.
fun. I laugh. They make me laugh. They make me chuckle. So I appreciate it. Last thing before I let you go, what can my family pray for you or your church or anyone close to you on?
Right now, I was just telling my parents today, we're in one of the best seasons of our lives right now. And my biggest prayer request, I think, at the moment is honestly, my son is in week 5 of the police academy. So it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
He's been hired by a precinct. They're sending him through the academy, which means he's got a job on the other side. But this is major. He's got a test. He's got one test tomorrow on the law. He's got another 10 weeks to get through December. And it is basically boot camp. And so he gets up at 4 in the morning, goes to bed at 8 at night, and it has made him grow up quickly, which has been
Mhm.
fantastic. He's doing unbelievable. But that's our biggest need in our family right now. Is we're watching him navigate what will be his adult job that will lead into his life, lead into marriage, and everything else. So
Okay. Well,
that's
I
our
have,
biggest need in our fam.
yeah, I will have that written down and definitely add that to the list. So, absolutely. Well, man, this has been just an absolute joy. I have
This was
learned,
fun.
yeah, this was a lot of fun. You are more than welcome to come back on whenever you want. Um,
Absolutely.
and again, just I've I take notes during all my like interviews or whatever you want to call these, but I just feel like tonight was just very impactful because I value marriage so deeply,
Mm.
and I've always thought that like marriage is what you do with your wife or your husband, but after tonight's conversation, it's more of like that's your permanent assignment that
Mhm.
affects everything else in your life. Like if your marriage isn't good, everything else, work, kids, Rex, whatever it is, like all of that will crumble around your marriage if your
Mhm.
marriage is not good first. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I thank you for coming on and again accepting some random TikTok message from some guy and being a part of the show. So you are welcome anytime. And again, thank you for being on here.
Anytime. Seriously, this is fun stuff to me. This is candy.
Yeah.
So I love it. This is my type of thing. So in fact, like when my wife and I do marriage conferences, the last thing we do is we do a live Q&A where we just sit and
Oh,
just have an open conversation, ask us anything, and it's all off the cuff,
wow.
random, share stories. So this is just in my this is in my alley right here. I love this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not on the live Q&A space yet, but when I get there, I might take note of doing that, and we'll see. That's a scary thing. That's vulnerability right there.
It's
That's
fun though.
vulnerability.
It's
That
fun
is
saying the words
vulnerability.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or saying the words my wife will answer this one, and
Yeah,
just going from there.
that's my fun. That's my fun. Everyone's gotten to the point now where like they'll be like, "Hey, can you do this?" And I'll just look and they're like, "Okay, yeah, I gotta ask Gabby." Yep, because she's our scheduler. She knows dance and all the schedules that are going on. So even like my parents are like, "Hey, what are you doing this week?" I'm like, "You should know this by now. After 9 years of marriage, I do not control my calendar. Like you have to ask
Yep.
my wife."
Yep.
So
No. Same
yeah,
thing, dude. Same thing. But
absolutely.
seriously, anytime, yeah, hit me up and we'll do another one, man. This is a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
All right.
Peace.
Bye. All right, guys. Hopefully, you got a lot out of that interview with Dave. I know I did, and just very thankful again for him coming on and being a part of the show. So, thanks, Dave, for doing that. I know he had a prayer request. We're going to get into that absolutely, and then I have a couple last minute announcements and a personal request on my end as well. So, for Dave, we're going to be praying that his son is in his fifth week of the police academy and just doing a lot of great things. He's got 10 weeks left to go. But just knowing that he's there in week five, just continuing to develop and grow as a man, as a potential husband, all of those things, just praying for his safety and praying just that he does well in the academy, that he graduates and he can, get into that professional career there. Um, for us, couple things on my end. He was a guest on our show. I think like the third or fourth episode, but his name's Chad. His mom Jeannie had suffered a stroke in Yellowstone last week and had to be airlifted to Idaho Falls Hospital. Um, she is in need of getting back home. She's going to have long term care. She is paralyzed on her entire left side of her body. So she's going to have year round care. There's a long list of expenses that they have to come up with. I think they are trying to raise, I want to say it's like $250,000. And so I want to make sure that they get there. And so If you can, I'm going to put the link on my Instagram and also in the show notes of this episode. But if you guys can, please go and donate to Chad's family and his and the GoFundMe page. There, you will have the episode, or you'll have the link there. They've currently raised $13,000. Their goal is $275,000. But right now, they need help in the in-home care. It's going to be about 116K annually. Getting their house remodeled, it's about 100K. Wheelchair accessible van, 20, about 20,000. Medicare max out of pocket, 16,000. I mean, there's a laundry list of expenses here, guys, and we have too many listeners and too many people that are fans of the show not to help. So I just ask that you go to that link that I'll post, and please just give whatever you can, $5, $10. If you can give more, great. If not, give what you have. And I know that their family would greatly appreciate that. And then we're obviously going to be adding Jeannie and his family to our prayers every week, and just praying for them to get home safely. And so I'll continuously update you guys on that end as well. So let's go ahead and pray. And then also, again, we're in the new house. We are in the new house, guys, and it's an exciting season of life. But as we go through this, just praying for God's blessing and provision while we're here in the house, and just to make the most of what He has given us. So, all right, let's go ahead and pray. Lord, we love you so much, and just want to take time to praise you and give you glory for all the things that you're doing. Um, I know there's a lot of craziness going in the world right now, but I do pray and ask that you continue to show your glory, just continue to show your provision in this world and in our lives, and just help us to understand and know who you are, and where we stand within you. Lord, I just pray for Dave's son as he's going into week 5 of the police academy. Just praying that you are continuing to prep him, to strengthen him, and just to sustain him through this academy. But also, as he's going through here, just teach him to be a great police officer and, contributor to his community, all of those things. And just, we're thankful that he is putting his life on the line for others in his community. So please just pray for him in this season. Lord, praying for the Russell family, for Jeannie. We're just asking your blessing and healing on her. Lord, we thank you for the community that you've already surrounded her with. We thank you for every dollar that has already come into that GoFundMe page. And honestly, Lord, just so thankful that she had help available to be airlifted and to be where she's at. And Lord, we're just praying that this is something that we see your glory through. Lord, I pray that you help money to be raised, help for her to be taken care of, just for things to work out, and just know that they are taken care of. Just surround that entire family with your grace, with your love, and let them know who you are. And just again, let this glorify your name in some way, shape, or form. Lord, as we're in this new house, as we're going into the next season of life personally, just continue to pray for your provision, and continue to pray your blessing over this podcast, over our marriage, the marriages that of people that are listening to this, and people that are parents. Just praying that you are helping grow and develop and mature, and sharing the love you have for us, that we can share that love with others around us and our spouses and our kids. Lord, we love you. We thank you for everything that you're doing, and we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you next week. We have a special podcast coming next week, so you won't want to miss it there. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye, everybody.